Hi everyone, welcome to The Superficial Spirit, where we explore how pop culture affects our spiritual experiences. My name is Peter Breeze. Join me while we ask a very important question. What the hell did pop culture do to me? Hi everyone, welcome to The Superficial Spirit.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Superficial Spirit, where we talk about pop culture. Two white guys talking about pop culture.
Oh my god, you asshole. Well, I guess I don't need to introduce Evan because he's back. We are almost done.
Spicy topics.
Spicy topic.
Spicy topics all day long.
Spicy topic. We are rounding off 1 year of The Superficial Spirit, and we're taking it back to the beginning. Evan was my first guest, where we talked about how Paris Hilton saved my life. That was episode 1. And now we are almost at the year mark, and I wanted to have Evan back to sort of recap the year and revisit some topics, talk about some things that have happened during the year, and wrap it up in a nice little bow. So
how's Paris Hilton saving your life, by the way? How's that working out for you?
Well, I feel differently about Paris now, but I mean, do you want to start talking about that right away?
No, I need the caffeine to kick in first.
Okay. So thanks again for joining me. For those of you who don't know Evan, Evan is my boyfriend.
You got 15 minutes.
We've been together for, I don't know, almost 10 years. I think it's 8 or 9. 8. I actually don't know my age because the other day, my friend Shara turned 35 and I was like, I can't believe you're older than me. And she's like, you are already 35, and I lost a year. So I have no idea how old I am or how long we've been together, basically. And
I still pretend I'm 33.
Yeah, you do. You lie about your age a lot.
Yes,
but that's okay. I mean, no, sorry. That's not, I understand. I mean, I don't think you need to lie about your age.
I'm at school with children. I could honestly father some of these kids. I gotta lie or it's going to be weird.
I think if people lie about their age, though, that's when it becomes weird. Like, when I was in my 20s, I didn't think people in their mid-30s were weird.
That's not true. I guarantee you did. I bet you
probably thought they were old.
You thought they were old farts who, and we are. I mean, I can't use a TikTok. I don't want to use a TikTok. I mean,
I tried. I still don't. It took me all day.
What is it?
It took me all day. It took me like one morning. I did one TikTok that got like 900 views in like 1 second. And I also did a story a reel on Instagram, and it happened really, really fast. I got like 1,200 views. Like, I don't know what happened. The time fucking space travel ripped, and I got a bunch of attention in a really short period of time. And I was like, and I mean, that's putting that relatively to what I was used to getting, which isn't a lot compared to most people. Anyway, I was like, maybe I should focus on TikTok. It's a new social media platform. I have a podcast. I can talk about celebrities and blah, blah, blah. And I spend, I don't know, a couple weeks trying to make good TikToks. And I'm happy with my TikToks. But honestly, what it came down to,
I wasn't happy with TikToks. They're fucking stupid.
It took way too long to make them. And I'm like, you know what?
You know what? It's like Madonna trying to stay relevant. That's what TikTok reminds me of. She's like, 69, pumping out, dance floors. That's how I feel in TikTok.
Yeah, but Confessions of a Dance Floor was an amazing album. And some of my friends who are older than me, like Darcy Michael, have actually done great on TikTok. He has like 1 million followers in less than 6 months.
I'm talking more like MDRA.
MDNA?
mRNA? What's that album?
You know exactly what it's called because you listen to it all the time.
I haven't listened to it in years.
So stop pretending you don't know the name to Madonna's albums. Like,
I know them.
You listen. I hear you listening to. But you watch Madonna concert videos when I'm upstairs.
I think I watched the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl.
This is why no one believed me I was straight in high school and shit like that.
Oh, Lordy. Oh my God. I don't even know how we got onto that. Okay, anyway. Madonna. How did we get onto that? Oh, TikTok feeling you know what? I do think, like, for the people who are young and like TikTok is their preferred
MDMA, that's it.
It's called MDNA, like Madonna. MDNA. It's a fucking short version.
I've always found that album confusing to remember. I'm sorry.
It's not, it just doesn't matter. Anyway, TikTok. If you're the young generation who feels like TikTok is the preferred social media platform, then fucking go for it. There are some really funny, entertaining TikToks.
But to me, TikTok's
and also, just wait, there are some people who are older who are doing great on TikTok. I don't think that you're desperate just because you're on TikTok. I just think you either have to do it and have fun with it and not try so hard like everything else. Just do it and have fun and see what happens.
It's fucking lame.
Yeah, but I know people who are our age that are doing great on TikTok. And they're getting lots of followers and they love it.
Okay, to me, TikTok, from what I understand, is people doing TikTok dancing, and then people doing, like, there's a lot of like it seems like people are auditioning for things on TikTok to me, like they're reading scripts from movies or something, and they think it's really hip. I don't know.
No, they're not. I know what you mean.
There's a lot of that.
Somebody on Instagram was saying that they have they do the same dances over and over and over again. And what's the point? But it's
there's that nice one. You go. I tried it.
Oh my God! Did you ever?
I tried.
Did you ever?
No videotape of it though, because
videotape, everyone. Videotape.
I'd rather a porno.
Not recording on the iPhone. Videotape.
I would rather a porn come out of me than people see me try that TikTok dance.
Yeah. I don't know. I think TikTok is what it is. I actually don't. I've been phoneless for the last couple weeks, and I was just re-uploading my apps, and I got Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but I didn't download TikTok because I just find, I'm sure I will.
You promised me this videos. I look like a gremlin right now. Like I just put my moisturizer on my face and I'm all on cat.
Evan just got the brand new iPhone 12 and we were taking pictures of ourselves and we looked really old. Do you feel like we're at that age now where we look in the mirror and we're like, oh, we've noticeably aged?
I look fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about. I have great skin.
The picture you took, the selfie you took on your iPhone, literally you look like a newt.
I look like a man baby. That's what I look like.
You look like a salamander. You look like some kind of wet amphibian.
Just I moisturize too much.
You do. You're so, well, I'm the opposite. I am the fucking Sahara Desert.
You're so dry.
I have to like bathe in oil if I want to not look cracked every day. Anyway, let's get on to topic now. That was a nice little jaunt. So I've had the podcast for a year. Does it feel like a year for you?
It feels like a long year.
Do you remember when I first started? Remember we went for the walk with the dog and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to call it Superficial Spirit. You're like, that's a horrible concept, but it's a great name.
It sounds like something I would say.
Yeah, like you hated the idea of putting pop culture and spirituality together, but you're like, this is a really catchy name.
I do find it repugnant. I still don't agree with the thesis, but that's fine.
Thesis?
Your little spiritualist manifesto. I just don't buy it, but I think it's interesting. I just don't find much value in. Well, it just goes to a larger point of the gay community having these idols and the Kardashians and the Hiltons who I think have done more damage than a million Trump supporters in some ways, you know? And to this day, I just want to remind people, I did have a client once as a photographer who looked at her pictures, 2 weeks later, booked a trip to South Korea to get a facelift. That is the damage that people like the Jenners and the Kardashians and Caitlyn's and that whole clan of bikini laying, photoshopping Klansmen.
Wouldn't call them Klansmen.
Okay, Klan.
That is the wrong.
Let me take the Klansmen. No, I didn't. I meant to say that the Kardashian clan. Let's take the man out of that because I'm not calling them white supremacists.
Well,
I just think they're bad people, and I just don't understand the gay obsession with the house. The whole thing I find very off-putting personally.
I understand. And I will say that after a year of interviewing people and talking about spirituality and pop culture, there's a few things that I've learned. One of them is that spirituality is super personal and people have different ways to define it and experience it and enrich themselves through spirituality, which is fine. In terms of pop culture, when I started the podcast, I was just like fervently defending the fact that, pop culture can have these profound effects on people's lives, which I still think. However, a few things happened last year that have changed my perception. One of them was the Paris Hilton documentary. The other one was the Free Britney documentary and the pandemic, obviously. But I basically feel like I still can see how celebrities and pop culture have affected me and how it took my life in a certain direction. But I'm also because of those documentaries and just conversations that have happened over the past year, I let's see, how can I say this? I'm seeing it for what it is. Yes, I was inspired by it, but it's all an illusion and it's all fake. And mostly Britney did that because like the whole Free Britney conversation is like, she is just a person that was created. Like she's just a regular girl who happened to become a huge pop star, and then the world tore her apart and people like me put her on a pedestal, but really she's just like everybody else. She just happened to become a pop star. And I feel like when you realize all of the sources of your inspiration are essentially manufactured and they're purposefully designed to keep you engaged and watching and fantasizing, it does feel like a little bit of a letdown. I never really fed into the Kardashians. Like I do watch the show sometimes, but they were not an inspiration for me the way that Paris was. Can we turn off the notifications?
No.
Okay. Sorry if you're listening and Evan's fucking trending Reddits keep popping up.
Let me just get rid of them.
Speaking of trolls. But no, I do feel...
Wait, maybe someone who changed my Reddit name.
Oh, yeah. Someone changed Evan's Reddit name to what?
Hot Possibilities.
What is your real Reddit name? Like, what was the one you chose?
My real name is Pagoda is a Dog.
Okay. And then somebody changed it to... And it really wasn't me. If I was going to change it to anything, it would not be Hot Possibilities, that's for sure.
Well, it's actually, I think it's actually Hot Possibilities 26, because there's 26 people before that who thought it was just better than sliced bread.
Anyway, let's go back to, I want to stay on topic for this. So basically, I do feel like I can
we just leave her alone, Brittany? Oh, for the love of God, yes. You people!
You guys have can you let me finish my thought? This is why I want to finish my thought.
Alone. Everyone wants these theses and these manifestos.
Oh my God! How many times do you want to say thesis? It doesn't make you sound smart. Let me finish my.
It does. It's like using therefore. That makes you sound very smart.
Okay. So my thought. You sound like God. You sound crinkly.
I'm sorry.
So basically, to summarize that, because we started the whole conversation arguing a year ago about if Paris Hilton specifically could be spiritual. Now it's like Paris Hilton is not spiritual. Paris Hilton is just a person. If you derive spiritual inspiration from her, great. I did at one point. I don't anymore. I'm still a fan. I think she is a fun celebrity to follow. But I do not, my whole, the weight that I put in pop culture has completely changed. Like over the course of the year, I still watch The Housewives. I still follow Britney, but I can tell you that my internal way that I am consuming it has changed. It is not as profound. I don't really think that it is anything special. It's just like any other industry in the world. And maybe that's just growing up, or maybe it's because I've been talking about it for a year nonstop on this show, or it's the pandemic and we've had nothing to do but to sit and reflect. But I feel like pop culture and celebrities have their place. You know, they can be entertaining and stuff, and inspiring to people. But you're right. You are right in the fact that they perpetuate so many problems. You know, beauty standards, the idea that, you know, your dreams can come true. Anybody can be rich. Lifestyles of the rich and famous, that whole thing. You know, the Kardashians are so problematic because, you know, Khloe was just saying that she was all upset because an unphotoshopped picture of her was floating around. And she said, just because she's in the public eye doesn't mean that she doesn't have the right to ask for a picture not to be circulated. However, these are the same people that are denying getting any kind of medical procedures. They say everything is natural. You know, they have a team of makeup artists. They have millions of dollars. And then when an unphotoshopped picture gets out there, she wants it taken down and she starts crying about it not being fair. And those are the moments where I'm like, I feel for her as a person, but you can't have it both ways. You can't perpetuate this perfect lifestyle in terms of looks, money, and status. And then when we get a glimpse into who you actually are, and she looked fine in that picture. Did she look like the cover of Sports Illustrated?
I honestly forget that they're white until I see them unphotoshopped. I thought the Kardashians were people of color for the longest time, till a few years ago.
Why?
Because of how much tanner they put on. It's like watching the girls from New Jersey.
Darker.
You know, it's like if from the outside you're like, white? Oh, you're white? It's just
I don't
so
think
repugnant, these people. And furthermore, there, dropped it in again. Uh-huh. It's also just like, if we're always talking about white privilege, how about class privilege? You know, when it's like, literally, how much did what's the makeup one? The really Kylie. So what she made? What, $100 million? What was there was? It was like $100 billion in what a few years or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That's the stuff that's really traumatizing to me. It's like,
why? Because some people will look at Kylie Jenner making $1 billion and think, wow, that's a huge success. Like, I'm sure her fans are like, get it, girl. That's amazing. We love you. We support you. You're running an empire. So when you say that's traumatizing, mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, how, you know, when we're talking about privilege and male privilege and white privilege, the conversation is so all over that, but what is actually affecting people when we have millionaires creating more millionaires and creating more billionaires? That's taking money from impoverished and lower income communities and putting it into the higher class.
Yeah,
that to me is a big problem. You know, they're taking up all the pie. But we're squabbling, but that's where the conversation really, to me, has to go with class privilege and really trying to fix the tax code so the highest earners are actually contributing back. Because right now, you know, if you're grown into a rich family, the system is set up, you're going to make a lot of money. Like, mm-hmm. It's very easy for rich people to make more money. I have a lot of friends who are quite rich.
Do you?
I do. And they're always going to be set off because they can open up 5 businesses. It doesn't matter if they fail, right?
Yeah.
That to me is a major problem in society. And I wish social justice would really focus on class privilege and taxation, economic policy over these really minor issues, more about white privilege that aren't as important in the long run to make policy changes that are going to help people in the lower income communities.
I mean, yes, I do agree with you that that is an issue. And that is something that really irks me, is the wealth disparity and the fact that, and people don't talk about it as much. I mean, you're right. However, I don't think that you should prioritize. Like, this is where it gets tricky. And I understand what you're saying, but you're saying we shouldn't talk so much about white privilege. We should talk about rich people. But that is based on your own experience. And that is like, you're a white dude and you're like, why do we need to talk so much about white male privilege when the Kardashians are billionaires?
No, I'm saying we can have this talk and we should have this talk. But right now there is a complete obsession where and I see it on Twitter all the time, where it's like literally, and I have a lot of friends who are super woke and on Twitter. Good for, whatever your belief is, I will support you. I'm libertarian on that. I will support it. No, I believe
you don't support me liking the Housewives.
No, but but you are allowed to. I wouldn't say you're a bad person.
But you just said whatever your opinion is, I'll support you.
Look, I believe people are allowed to have their own opinions. Whatever. I don't think we all have to think the same. I just don't. But I understand that could be a problematic thing to say, but there are really important
Well, I think
issues
it's problematic. Some people would interpret it as problematic because you're a white gay guy. You come from privilege. You grew up in a great way. Both of us have had support from our families financially. And I think that the problem is when you say, I think there's a bigger problem, and that's the fact that the rich keep getting richer.
Yes.
And the impoverished people, the people who are at the bottom, are fighting about social justice and equality, but they're forgetting the fact that there's a larger enemy, and that's basically rich people.
Yes.
Like, yes, white gay guys can be racist and problematic towards trans folks, Black people, and that creates tension, and it shouldn't be happening. But if we all at the bottom joined together and revolted against the rich people, then, maybe we could find some common ground instead of further and further division.
And I think it's a beautiful way, a better way of trying to say what I'm saying. That's exactly it.
But then how do you address the fact that for a lot of people out there, that is not the big, they are more focused on
virtue signaling. I get it. Like, people are more focused on like these, to me, virtue signaling sort of like, I can't vote for Justin Trudeau ever again because he is the biggest virtue signaler. So, if we're spending all this time removing statues and changing street names and shit like this, that takes up so much political capital. And for me, it's like, instead of that, the fact that we still have boil water advisories on Native American reserves in Canada. That to me, but we're focusing on street names, but we're not getting this shit done. That's what really, really angers me. These small issues. You know what I mean? We need major structure.
I worked at the Gladstone Hotel before I got laid off, and there was, I might be saying this story wrong. So if anybody's listening, they're from the Gladstone, I misspoke, send me a message and I'll correct myself. But basically, the hotel shut down, everybody was out of work, and they were internally trying to figure out how to bring people back to work, what they could do. And a bunch of people from the Gladstone basically rallied together and demanded that the Gladstone Hotel change their name because somewhere in history, the Gladstone is connected to some kind of problematic behavior, and I have no idea what it is. And I remember the people who are working at the hotel, it was like, we already don't have the resources to bring these people back to work. And now they're demanding that we change the name of the hotel, which increases more work for us. So instead of trying to generate work for you to come back to the hotel, we have to deal with this petition. We have to change the name of the hotel. We have to explore that. We have to deal with all this. And then the people who are mad about not having a job are further along not having a job because they're mad that the hotel won't change their name. And it's like, yes, we eventually have to deal with those superficial things. And I mean superficial because they are the surface and they are symbols, and symbols are important. But if we're not dealing with, it's just like trauma. If somebody has huge anger issues, or any kind of like addiction or whatever, and you treat it superficially, like, well, I'm drinking too much and I'm doing too many drugs, so I'm just going to stop going to the club and that will change everything. And I've done that, so I know that this doesn't work. Or I'm going to change my phone number, or I'm going to stop seeing the problematic people. That will not heal what's going on inside. It might for a period of time feel like things have changed, but if you're not dealing with the foundation and the cracks of why things are falling apart, you are never going to make real progress. And I think social media creates this illusion of like everybody's just fighting each other all the time. It happened with me during the podcast. It happened with you a few times with people that we know. People are so comfortable calling out somebody for a status or a post or something they said in the past, but they're not. That doesn't fix fucking problematic behavior. It creates fear and tension, and that only perpetuates bad behavior.
Are you referring to the center? Apparently, I'm a centrist troll. Okay, I just want to respond. I won't. Whoever called me a centrist troll. Number one, I just want to say you're not trolling if you're posting on your own social media. I don't think that qualifies as a troll. Personally, I don't know the definition of a troll. Trolling to me is when you try to hijack someone else's feed. But if you're posting on your own fucking timeline, I don't think that's a troll. So, okay, whatever. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But also, Twitter got, look, I'm in school now for UX design, and we have to remember social media is not a real slice of pie, right? Like people on Twitter are usually...
What do you mean by that? Social media is not a real slice of pie. Social media is not a real slice of pie. Okay, what does that mean?
Because it's not it's not a slice of life. Twitter is the most inaccurate representation of what the public thinks. Okay, if you spend your whole day on Twitter, and like I've checked out some of my friends who spent, they sent like 10,000 tweets or whatever the last like year.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of tweets, but the thing is.
That's not real.
Psychology, if you look at the psychology behind heavy Twitter users, they're more polarized, they're more angry. Same with Instagram users. There is a direct correlation. Social media actually makes you angrier, more bitter, and you seem to also develop less empathy as well. These are all facts.
Because it's so much easier to attack somebody because they said something you don't like. But if it was real life and you were around somebody... It does.
So one of my favorite YouTubers, Lindsay Ellis, she was just supposedly canceled. I don't really understand the whole controversy. Anyway, she is this wonderful LGBT film critic, and she did this amazing. She's also, by the way, she did this whole thing on pop culture transphobia, and it's about a 90-minute video essay. It's brilliant. I think everyone in the community should watch it. Lindsay Ellis, but she was trying to cancel over some Twitter remark about some film criticism, and it's just gotten so crazy.
What was she canceled for?
I honestly, I've looked into it. I don't totally understand it, but she was saying two Asian films were very similar.
Okay,
and I'm not shocked.
So she was criticizing the Asian community.
She was criticizing, and people. This is just after not criticizing the Asian community. She's critiquing Asian film because she's a fucking film critic. But it's gotten so crazy now that was too much for people that they're trying to go after.
Well, wait. You really have to understand what the reason is behind somebody being canceled, because you say it's going too far, but you have to hear what people are saying. First of all, this is a really sensitive and turbulent time for Asian community because of coronavirus and because of rhetoric in the media that it came from China and that it was created in a lab. And there's a lot of racist sentiment around that.
It did come from China.
I know, but it's creating a dangerous dialogue for Asian people.
Sure.
Which is probably why there was hypersensitivity around her critiquing Asian film at this time.
Yes.
So if she was criticized, maybe if it was a different time and this wasn't happening, people wouldn't have been as outraged. But, if there was a gay bashing in fucking Liberty Village where we lived, and I went online and I saw somebody making fun of gay people and I don't know, maybe they were teasing or maybe they were doing something that I normally wouldn't be offended by, but because I just realized there was a gay bashing down the street, I'm more sensitive and I'm going to be a little bit more outraged. I'm going to say, you know what? Now's not the fucking time to be making light of the queer community. So I don't know what she was canceled for, but if she was critiquing Asian films, it probably had something to do with people being like, now's not the time, bitch.
What? Now, go check yourself, because that is censorship. She was critiquing a film that came out on Disney that week because she's a fucking film critic. It was a dragon movie. Raya, I think. Raya, the last... Okay. Anyway, she did a whole video on this. I thought it was an excellent video about cancel culture. And it's just calm the fuck down, people.
So you're saying that people need to calm
down. Out.
Yeah.
Yes, chill out. You don't have to agree with somebody, but you don't have to cancel them at the same time. You can disagree with people. But are these people
really getting canceled anymore?
She's so popular. Exactly. She's so popular. But there was people were trying, and the ironic thing is she's more popular now because of this.
Exactly. This is a great segue. This is a great segue to something I wanted to talk about with you. I feel like, for me, when George Floyd was killed and the BLM movement became really prominent in the media at the beginning of the pandemic, I was extremely moved and felt very, for lack of a better word, pressured to continue my social media because I was big. I've always been active on social media, and when that happened, I remember feeling like, well, what do I say? Should I say anything? And then I didn't post for a few days, but then I talked to some friends like, no, if you are active on social media all the time, and now BLM is a huge part of the conversation, you should absolutely be talking about it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to include it in my regular dialogue. I'm going to share my feelings and what I think. And I felt good about that. I learned a lot, and I felt like I was a part of a larger dialogue, which felt good. But then slowly, like over the year, I just felt the climate on social media changed so much, and what people were saying were dissected so much, and I felt like, people who were trying to speak out were getting called out, and they weren't supporting the communities in the right way, or they were saying the wrong thing, or they followed the wrong person, or they tweeted something years ago that was problematic. Mm-hmm. And like, while I do think that you have to educate people, and if people make mistakes, it's true, the patience for allowing people to just be human and learn and grow was zero. And that made me not pull away from, it made me pull away from social justice. It didn't change the way I felt about racism and inequality and all the things that I think I hate about society. But it definitely made me not want to engage in social media, because I feel like I don't want to get in the fucking mud with the pigs, basically.
Well, it's also, you're going to be, no matter what you said, you're going to be criticized. I mean, I remember this going on, and I found it a little humorous with people, because that people are basically, everyone has to post about BLM, which first of all is a very important issue. Everyone has to post about, but then you started seeing the post, no, you're posting too much. You're taking away from people of color. Yeah. And then it went to, it kept going back and forth. And then it was just a very messy thing where the lines kept changing. The goalposts kept changing, and no one knew what to do. Should we post a black square? Should we not post a black square?
Exactly.
And then I once read on someone's Facebook about like how white people should go to protests. And it was like a 2-page thing of what people found acceptable for white people to go to protest. I was just like, it's but all very confusing.
I do think all of the information is valuable. Like if a community, let's say if the Black community is feeling like there's problematic behavior from white people at a protest, they should absolutely say, look, thank you for coming and supporting. This would be a better way to help. I think what happened this year, though, it went from like no dialogue to so much dialogue. And then it was like hyper focused on certain behaviors. And I think it made people unsure of how to support. And unfortunately, a lot of people were just like, I'm just going to pull away. But this is the other thing. I mean, we also
a lot of people did.
Yeah, but we are also two white guys saying like, oh, it's so annoying that on social media you can't say the right thing without being
I'm canceled. Not saying it's annoying. These are very tough. This is the curse of social media. It's an amazing platform to organize and fight against oppression. And look, there is police brutality against people of color in America. It's different in Canada. I got, there is no, and I just want to clarify, there's no such thing as the United States of Canada Police Force, which is sort of implied by a lot of posts. Well, there is a very big difference between policing in Canada and America. It's a very different organization of how we approach things. But social media can be used to help these issues out, but there is also the other side where it becomes very, very extreme, polarizing, and I would say not helpful at the end of the day. Because if you start to shame people, shame, especially people in the gay community, we know a lot about shame. And once you start shaming people for their beliefs or shaming people to do this or that, you've already lost the argument.
Well, I think shaming people for like if somebody is being racist and you call them out for it, I think that's important to be like, look, I think that's racist. Absolutely. But I think trial by public opinion.
No, everyone should be anti-racist. You should never tolerate racist beliefs. But then this is, the hate crime stuff gets more difficult. Like, what is hate speech? Which is something I struggle with. I don't know what hate speech is. I struggle with that.
Well, I'm sure some people will listen to this and feel like we are anti-racism. People may listen to this podcast and be like, we're being really critical about the social justice movement. And as to white people, that is problematic.
You know what? That's fine. Yeah. I don't.
That's the other thing. Is like, I guess I feel more comfortable with people not with people. I don't need approval.
Guys, Western democracy is based in debate between liberal and conservative values in general. And we can't go to the place where we are going right now, where everything we don't agree with is now racist or homophobic. That can't be the new standard of policy. We've never been. There was an interesting study, and I wish I could source it. I'll try to. Well, maybe we can. I'll try to find it. But polarization in the Western world and in America is as bad now as it was during the Protestant Reformation in England and Europe, and that's pretty horrifying. Because if we don't think, polarization, and we are like within the next 10 to 20 years. Don't be surprised if a lot of Western democracies start to fall apart because of this type of shit. Like, we are at that line. Like, Rome fell and America could fall. Canada could fall. The West could fall. And this type of social unrest and polarization is a huge, huge culprit. Not the only one. There's environmental constraints and there's class stuff and class warfare and money issues. But this is all part of it, right? So if you're not willing to have proper conversation with someone who disagrees with you, go fucking check yourself. And it is essential that you have conversations with people that fucking disagree with you.
Yeah.
And it's essential that you don't just read media that checks off your current beliefs. Mm-hmm. Read media that challenges your beliefs. You don't have to agree with it, but absorb it, listen to it. Mm-hmm. Because we're creating a generation of people who literally... and look, how many times do we see online now that like people are getting, I had to actually, I don't like to call people out, but I had to call out 3 people on social media last week for comparing Doug Ford to fucking Hitler. Doug Ford is not Hitler. Compare
nobody to Hitler.
Or,
this brings up,
guys, it is so fucking crazy. Do not call people in our community fucking fascists and Nazis. This is not the correct political dialogue we need right now. And you're also, by engaging in that dialogue, you are hurting your own fucking causes that you care so much about.
The Hitler thing is crazy. And this is not the first time we've had to talk about that. Well, earlier this year, I had, I'm just going to, should I say his name? I had somebody,
no, don't.
I had somebody on the show that created, the person didn't create it, but I made a post on social media saying, this is my guest coming up next week. And oh, honey, the shitstorm started. Okay, on my Facebook wall, everybody was coming out. Not everybody. A few people were saying this person is problematic. This person is a bad person. How dare you have them on the show? And a lot of people came to his defense. And some people, one person compared him to Hitler. And Evan came on and was like, why are you comparing this person to Hitler? Like, that is super offensive. I'm Jewish. And this little white gay boy, by the way, white gay boy was like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but he is like Hitler because he doesn't give the same opportunities to drag queens.
I'm going to send him a paid vacation. I'm not going to really do this, but I should, to go tour fucking Auschwitz. Go tour Auschwitz for a week, come back to me, and let's talk about calling people in our community fucking Nazis.
You just swear.
Fuck that.
But it is an interesting point that Evan was doing research the other day because he was talking to a friend online about like police brutality in Canada versus other parts of the world. And he found this because hate crimes have gone up a lot this year. Mm-hmm. But the highest percentage of hate crime reports are towards Jewish people. Mm-hmm. They're anti-Semitic, more than Black people, more than Asian people, more than the LGBT community. And this is something that nobody talks about. And I found that interesting because before I met Evan's Jewish, I didn't really know anything about the Jewish community. I didn't have any Jewish
Jews
friends.
are always the most hated community. Jews and Black people generally are the most hated community. Jews have the highest reported crimes against us per capita for our population size has always been like that. It doesn't get any press.
But it's so interesting that these social justice warriors who are so comfortable screaming at me about a podcast guest have no problem making references to Hitler and saying,
I agree.
and like brushing over the Holocaust like it's not a big deal. But in the same way, we'll call everybody racist for sharing a meme of Oprah.
There's a lot of Jews who do not really. No, that's your phone. Oh, that's your phone beeping now, huh? Uh-huh. Yeah, very nice. There's a lot of Jews who don't feel very comfortable in left-wing circles because of casual anti-Semitism. I've seen it my entire life.
See, this is new to me because I don't remember knowing. I like growing up. The only thing I can remember of people saying that was anti-Semitic was like if somebody was being cheap, they would say, don't be Jewish. That is the only thing. But I don't remember anybody else. Whereas growing up in Calgary, I do remember, other racist things that I heard about like brown people or black people. Look, but I don't remember any anti-Semitic things. And when I started dating you, I did hear in your family people saying like, this is anti-Semitic, this is anti-Semitic. But why do you think people aren't as passionately defending Jewish people as they are black people, brown people, and
a lot of times anti-Semitism. So anti-Semitism is twofold. We get anti-Semitism obviously comes from Aryan beliefs, Germany. So it comes from like that side of European history, very traditional. But it also comes from a lot of minorities, especially from Arabic countries. And this is completely understandable at the same time. If you grow up in Egypt, you're probably not going to love Israel, right? And if you grow up in Israel, you're probably not going to love Egypt. I think this is relatively understandable. But, I think Jews are just used to, casual anti-Semitism their entire life. And it sucks. But
why do you think it's not in the media? Like, why?
Well, look, I'm not going, if someone says something, I'm not going to try, and here's the thing, I'm not going to try to cancel someone if they say something I think is problematic. I'm just going to say, you know what? I prefer if you didn't say don't Jew me. I prefer if he didn't say the Rothschilds rule the world, which is a form of anti-Semitism. I know a lot of people.
Oh my God, I didn't know that was anti-Semitic. I'm pretty sure that I've said that. I mean, those are all the conspiracy videos.
That's all. This is if you look at the roots where all these conspiracies come from, they come from the shit like Elders of Zion, which is I don't know where it came from, but it's an incredibly racist trope about the Jews controlling world governments, and you've always seen this on the left. So I am left wing, and I actually did the compass test today just to see where I end up. And I'm right in the social justice camp, which I'm not surprised about. But I'm always a little bit skeptical because of the casual anti-Semitism I'm very used to seeing my entire life.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm not going to cancel people because they say something I think stupid. And it's going to say, with a little bit of humility and humanity, what, that really doesn't work for me. That hurts my feelings, and I'll tell you why. But in the social justice side, now you're going to say that person has to fucking be canceled. I want them to lose their job. Get them off social media. They're pariah. No, that's not how you change people.
Maybe, do you think that maybe there needs to be a more diligent conversation around it, since anti-Semitism is exceeding other hate crimes and it's not being talked about? Maybe it's because I'm just used to saying you are passive about it. It's like, well, we're used to it and it's never going to change. So there's nothing.
No, I mean, look, we're in really turbulent times. I think it's going to get worse. Unfortunately, I think you're going to start seeing a new rise of some neo-fascism that's going to be less white-based. And even if you look now, like the Proud Boys, for example, aren't just white people anymore. I think you're going to start seeing a weird dynamic and fascist ideology. It's going to turn.
But the Proud Boys are based on white supremacy, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're not just white. You look at the organization. Well, they say they're based on like classical Western values, right? I just think you're going to start seeing a change on this in the next 10 years.
But what if it's based in white supremacy? But
they don't say white supremacy. They say, Western values is what they say, right? Which is it's a cloak, of course, but I just think this is all going to start changing.
By Western, do they mean like Dolly Parton?
No, they mean like traditional Western values, right?
Because I know, I'm just kidding. I understand.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were being
explained.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, let's shift the focus a little bit now. I think we covered social justice thoroughly. Let's talk about relationships, because we have a lot of people who are, this is something we also talk about, behind the scenes. Evan and I have been together for a long time. We're also kind of prudish about a lot of things. Like, when we moved to Toronto, I feel like I met a lot of like sexually liberal boys in the places that I was going.
I don't know. I'm just not down to get my dick sucked under a bush.
Oh my God, Evan.
It's really not for me.
You don't have to say that. What if your parents are listening to this?
Well, a lot of your friends do that, no?
Well, what I want to say is like a lot of single people looking for love, and then sex culture and like Grindr, and like, I'm telling you, Grindr is not quiet because of the pandemic. People are still hooking up. People are still meeting up, doing their sex parties, honey. I haven't been to any. But what do you think is successful about our relationship? Why do you think it works?
Does it work?
You tell me.
I think with relationships, you just have to make sure, and this is what my parents always said was, if you're in a relationship that, treat it less as a relationship, but more like your best friend. I think it's good advice. That, you don't mind spending as much all your time with. Because I think everything else falls in place if you look at it like that.
Okay, so
your head explodes. You just you break the computer, you burn down the house.
Well, I do agree that like friendship is the foundation of a great relationship. So what do you think? If you're basing your romantic relationship as a best friend, then where does sex come involved? You're basically, what you're saying is your life partner is your best friend that you also happen to have sex with.
Yes.
So how do you think, if you were to give dating advice to people who are single, really wanted to be in love, what would you say?
If you're not able to find love, it's probably because just from the people I know who struggle with this, I don't want to say something like super, like it's probably so you don't love yourself and shit like that, but you're probably not open to, a lot of people are so specific. I want, especially in the gay community, which is so obsessed with labels. I need, a hairy twunk bottom.
A hairy twink bottom?
I don't know. Okay, maybe that doesn't exist, but it probably does. And if you're that focused on looks and that focused on who you think you should be, you're probably going to be single. I think you really got to open the door up and maybe go outside the box, because life to me never works out the way you want it to. It usually goes to the back door, right? So
wait. When you met me, so you're saying basically don't be so attached to labels and be open to love how it arrives, even if that, okay. But so when you met me, was I somebody that surprised you that you were in a relationship with?
Yes.
Me? Okay.
Yes.
Why?
Well, no, you look the part. But
because you love blonde twinks.
I do like blonde twinks. You look the part, but stylistically, I grew up going to like Fish concerts, and you grew up, I don't know, destroying bathrooms in Calgary with Cher. I don't know what you guys did. But that type of stuff. So I think you just have to go outside the box but I think so many people, I don't think the sex chemistry is there. I just, he's too much of a, if your thoughts are going to, he's too much of a bottom. Yeah, you're going to be alone for the rest of your life.
Well,
Sorry.
I don't.
Oh, it's just too
but you would never be able to be with the top.
Sure, why not? We'd make it work. Maybe it's like, okay,
what? How?
You know what?
You just wouldn't have sex?
We could have an open relationship or something. We, of course, could make it work. But if you're going to be pigeonhole yourself like, he's too much of a not of a bottom, or he bottoms too much, that's what. How much of your relationship are you fucking anyway? So if you have a problem,
in the beginning, a lot, and 10 years in, not so much, honey.
If it's like 1%, if you're not going to have a permanent relationship with somebody, because of 1% of the time when you're fucking in the relationship, check yourself again. Like, it's sad. Like, you're probably going to be alone. And I see this over and over again. Oh, they're not my type. Well, maybe your type is something so out of the box. Try something different, experiment.
So basically you're saying,
and then open up the sex. If you're like, I really need, I'm really into, femme, but you're way too masculine, then open up the box a little bit. Get some femme in there, do it up.
Yeah.
Go nuts, go crazy.
So has your opinion of an open relationship changed?
No.
Because when we first started, we were not open.
I don't know.
And we aren't really open. I mean, we are technically, but we don't sleep with other people.
No, it's too much work.
It's too much work.
I don't need to go. I'm sorry, I'm too old for this shit. But I like the fact is open. Like, we do have an open relationship, but I've never actually been open with anyone else. I would say.
No, I have hooked up with other people, but I have not had sex with
Wait,
people.
How many?
Oh, God, I don't know. 20, 30, 40,000.
Oh, my God, you whore. Oh my God.
I think for me, it was like when we did talk about it, I was like euphoric because of the option of not feeling like, if I met somebody in a perfect world, you're like at a party, you meet someone, you have this chemistry. And if you want to explore it further, you totally can without being worried about the cheating thing. Cause that's another thing. If we had a podcast together, I think it'd be called That's Another Thing. Is like monogamy and like those values that are like just made up.
Mm-hmm.
If I choose to hook up with somebody else, it doesn't affect the way that I love and respect Evan, and vice versa.
No.
Mind you haven't hooked up with somebody, and if you did, I don't know what I would do. Okay. It might not go very well. Okay.
What are you talking about?
Okay. Do it.
No.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to add? What do you see for me in the future of my podcast? Oh, what are the highlights that you've observed in me this past year through the podcast?
The fact that you completed it, I think, is very impressive. I think that's very impressive that you actually did something. I think it's
I'm always doing shit.
Sure. If you say so.
Okay, so you're most impressed that I just...
No, I think it's been great. I think it's been fantastic. I know you're debating what to do next. I think you should continue, maybe evolve it a little bit and move on. But I think it's been... I think you've matured. I mean, it's been a really crazy year, I think. I think we've both matured a lot, too. It's been really... I think I've lost all my social skills, mind you. I mean, I literally...
you barely had any.
I barely had any anyway. I literally left the house with my entire fly open yesterday, like walking around.
I mean, that's not that outrageous.
No.
That is not that outrageous.
Or like I was on Zoom.
By the way, your fly wasn't undone. Your button and your fly was undone. Like your whole flap was open.
It was totally open. And like wearing, bright gay underwear too is great.
But, you do not own bright gay... Oh, the blue ones.
The blue ones.
Yeah.
Or I was on like a Zoom meeting the other day. I was totally caught picking my nose. And I'm just like, oh no. And then I tried to play it off like it was like just a scratch, like that Seinfeld episode. Just a scratch, Oh no. I got to get out more often.
I'm really sorry about all the notifications, people. I would be able to edit them out, but because Evan and I are in the same room, there's nothing really I can do about it. So, Evan, thanks for joining me.
Don't be a snowflake about the... About the notifications.
I really, at one point, thought you would come on the show more often, but you were so busy with school, and maybe that will be the evolution of the podcast.
Yeah, don't go to school in your 30s. It sucks.
Yeah, that's being around all the kids.
Okay, and honestly, I'm not trying. I just want to say I don't want to get angry. I don't want, I'm not trying to.
What do you say to people who say that you're a Republican?
You know what? If I am a Republican, I'm entitled to be a Republican. I'm not, but I am entitled to be a Republican. Okay? People are entitled. This is not my quote. This is from Earshad. But diversity does not mean uniformity. Okay? We can have different opinions, and we should celebrate different opinions and also engage with our friends who are, especially like gay conservatives. Invite them into the tent, pull them in, have conversations with these people. Don't send them out to the street because they don't have the same political ideology of you. I hate that shit. It's repugnant, and we can all do better.
I love it. Thanks so much for coming on the show. And, you continuously irritate me with lots of different things, but I know that I irritate you too with my pop culture obsession. And I think that that's part of why we, it's never dull because we have such contrasting opinions about things. So we're constantly talking and debating and getting annoyed by each other's opinions and perceived problematic behaviors. And I think that's part of why I love you and why I think our relationship has been exciting and stimulating, and hopefully will continue to be so. And I hope everybody who's listening enjoyed the conversation.
Oh my God, we're gonna get so much hate mail.
Haters make me famous. Haters make me famous.
It's actually
people don't care. We are washed up bitches.
I can't be canceled anyway because I don't have a following.
Yeah,
so
you can't cancel nobody.
You can't
cancel nobody. Okay.
That's our trump card.
That's our trump card. Oh my God. I need to bring him up. You can't cancel nobody. Okay, bye. Not here to